hymns.
Hello everyone, I'm Jenny Axler, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to this video webinar in which we will take a deep dive into some of the best features of our brand new BrailleSense 6. To summarize a bit about the system upgrades, we now have twice the storage at 128 gigabytes. We have twice the RAM at 6 gigabytes. We have a modern octa-core processor, and with Android 10 plus 4 USB ports, we support a ton of peripherals and modern applications. Let's take a quick physical tour. For those of you who can see it, it looks very much like our previous Polaris model, and for those of you who can't see it, I guess it also looks like our previous Polaris model, but you will feel a few differences. It is thinner and lighter, just by a smidge. It's 705 grams, which is significantly lighter than our Polaris model. If you look at the top face, it does look very BrailleSense-ish in that we have a set of stereo speakers, one on each side of the top, and an LCD in the center. We have at the bottom of the top face a 32-cell Braille display with 32 cursor routers. Where you'll notice the difference is the keyboard. It now has a matte finish and it has a much lighter touch when you type on it. So I know that's a little bit difficult to show in video, but trust me, it is an enhanced typing experience, and I think you'll have a lot of trouble out typing this keyboard. We've also changed the shape of the Control and Alt keys, as well as the function keys, to give them a more premium look and feel. Let's flip to the front edge, and this is going to look very familiar. It's exactly the same as the Polaris model. It has the key lock switch on the left, the media mode switch next, the 5 media buttons for controlling media playback, daisy playback, and Android app operation, and on the right is the power button. We'll flip around to the left edge here. And we have the volume buttons, as on the previous Polaris. We have the headphone and mic jacks. We do have a change here in that they are now Braille labeled. Above them on the casing is a letter M for the microphone and a letter H for the headphone jack, so you can't mix them up. Behind those is a full-size SD card slot. If we go around to the back edge, this one's very simple. We have only a USB-A host port. We'll move around now to the right edge. On the right edge, this is where we have the fun stuff. We have 2 USB-C ports with a USB-A port between them. And again, these have very specific purposes, so they also have specific Braille labels. The one on the back has a P above it, and I like to say this one is for Power and PC, although the PC part is actually for any device that will host it, whether it be an Android screen mirror, a Macintosh, or a PC. It doesn't matter, but it is used to power the unit and is used to connect to a PC for the terminal, for data transfer, or to anything that's going to host the BrailleSense 6. The one on the front is labeled with a letter V because it is a USB host port, but is also specifically used for video out. Between them is another USB host port, so we have the power port and 3 USB host ports. Let's flip over to the underside of the unit. And again, this is going to look very familiar. It contains the camera and the battery compartment. And that will, in fact, wrap it up for the tour, so let's move on to the menus. And again, this looks very much like the traditional BrailleSense menus, but don't let that fool you. We will get to power and speed and all kinds of things that will show you that this is only the surface. So we have our file manager,
word processor, W,
our word processor,
notepad, N,
notepad,
email, E.
We have email, and we have combined the email and Exchange email applications into one.
Media, M.
We have our media menu,
media player, M.
with our media player,
FM radio, R.
FM radio,
Daisy player, D.
and Daisy player,
media, M. Organizer, O.
and our organizer menu.
Address manager, A. Schedule manager, S. Database manager, D.
And yes, we have the same database manager that you guys have popularly requested from the YouTube. We have now brought it to the BrailleSense 6.
Organizer, O. Web Tools, B.
We have our Web Tools menu.
Web Browser, B.
And again with our web browser.
Google Search, G.
And we've kept the Google search.
Web Tools, B. Extras, X.
We have our Extras menu.
Excel Viewer, X.
We have our Excel
Online
viewer.
Daisy, O.
Our Online Daisy.
Sense Dictionary, D.
And we now include the Sense Dictionary in every unit. So this is not just a placeholder anymore. Whether you have a license or not, we do include English, US and UK, Spanish, Italian, and French.
Color Reader, C.
And we have a new application here. We have a color reader.
Extras, X. Programs, R. Utilities, U.
The Programs menu will only exist if you have installed external applications. So we'll go on to Utilities.
Calculator, C.
We have Calculator.
BrailleSense Math, M.
BrailleSense Math.
Display Time and Date, D.
Display Time
World
and
Clock,
Date.
O.
And we have a new application here, a World Clock, which lets you keep track of the time in any time zone that you choose to add to it.
Display Compass Heading, H.
Display Compass
Wake Up
heading.
Alarm, A.
Wake Up Alarm.
Stopwatch, W. Terminal for Screen Reader, S. Display Network Status, Display Power Status, Format, F. Sleep Timer, J. Macro Manager, R.
And we still have our Macro Manager.
Upgrade BrailleSense Firmware, U.
And Upgrade.
Utilities, U. Settings, S. Set time and date, T. Set up Internet, Bluetooth Manager, Menu Manager, and Backup Restore BrailleSense. Change device name, D. Quick Start Guide, Q. Password Protection, Initialize BrailleSense Options, Voice Options, V. Language Profiles, L.
And there we have another new item. We now have a Language Profiles function, which allows you to set an unlimited number of profiles for different languages, including system language, Braille code, and speech settings, as well as your voice.
BrailleSense Global Options, O.
And we have our BrailleSense Global Options.
Android Backup Reset, R.
Android Backup
Android
Reset,
System Settings, E.
and Android System Settings, just as we have on the Polaris.
Settings, E. Help, H.
We have our Help.
Play Store, P.
We have the Play
All
Store.
Apps, A.
We have our All Apps section, which again contains all of your installed Android applications.
Information about the BrailleSense, I.
And information about the BrailleSense. So remember all that stuff we were saying in the beginning about the double storage, double RAM, upgraded processor, Android 10, all of that? Well, I'm sure what you really want to know is, what does that mean in my practical world? So let's take a look. We'll start with some speed tests. The first thing I'm going to do is open a really large file. So I'll press Enter on File Manager.
Flash Disk 1.3 List Item.
And I have my flash disk. I'll press Enter
Books
here.
Folder 116 List Item.
And I'm going to open
BrailleSense U2 User Manual, Ver 9.0, Doc 1616 List Item.
And anyone who has used the U2 know that the BrailleSense U2 manual is like the length of a Stephen King novel, or at least close to it. It's about 460 pages. So I'm going to press Enter, and it's going to launch the word processor and load this file. I'm going to press Enter right now.
Loading. BrailleSense U2 User.
And I just pressed backspace enter to stop speech, but it's finished. It just, as soon as it started to say BrailleSense U2, it was loaded. So that is how quickly things load these days. All right, let's try
BrailleSense U2.
copying a large file from a USB drive, or a large folder.
Flash Disk 1.3 List Item. USB 2.3 List Documents Folder 113 List Item.
I have a folder of YouTube videos that I want to copy.
YouTube Folder 913 List Item.
And before I do that, let's take a look at just how big it is. So I'm going to press Enter I to get the information.
Type. Folder 1 Folder. S. 70 File. S. Exist Static Box.
And we're going to...
Size. 872.98 megabytes static box.
So it's over 872 megabytes. I'll press F4.
YouTube Folder 913 List Item.
And I'm going to press Enter C to copy.
YouTube Folder 9. USB 2.3. Flash Disk 1.3 List. Books Folder 116 List Item.
And I'm just going to put this on the root, so we'll do Enter V to paste right now.
Pasting. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 56, 65, 7, 80, YouTube, 85, 90, 95, 100. 1 objects copied. YouTube Folder 1617 List Item.
All right, and that is all it took. Again, things much, much faster. Okay, now let's check out opening a media file from Google Drive. So I'm going to press backspace.
Flash Disk 1.3 List Item.
And we'll go down to Google Drive.
US Google Drive 3.3 List Item. Classroom Folder 1.7 List Item.
Okay, and remember that what I'm going to do is to open a file from the internet. So it's going to download and launch the media player. So we'll press S.
Sarah McLaughlin, Fallen MP367 List Item.
And I'm going to press Enter right now.
1 objects copied. Sarah McLaughlin. Title, Track 1, Sarah McLaughlin.
All right, and we are playing.
Sarah McLaughlin.
All right, how about web pages? Well, let's take a look at that. I will press space W, which is our global web address hotkey.
www.himsintl.com computer edit box.
And we'll go ahead and open the HIMS INTL website, which is already filled in. I'll press enter right now.
Starting web browser. www.himsintl.com. Loading. HIMS.
All right, and again, we are finished. As much as I love all that power and speed, the real star of the show for me is the connectivity. With our 4 USB ports plus the Android 10 operating system, we have so much potential in terms of the accessories and peripherals that we can support, all the way from the practical to the frivolous. So let's start out with a bit of the practical. This is especially useful for parents and teachers, or if you want to share your screen with a colleague, etc. One of the greatest features that we're able to take advantage of is that we are now able to support USB-C portable monitors, like this little HP right here, which of course is blank right now. So let's actually remedy that. I'm going to make a lot of noise and bluster and connect this to the front USB-C port on the BrailleSense 6. And if all is according to plan, you should now see the BrailleSense main menu. Another neat little trick that we can now do is to mirror the BrailleSense 6's screen to an Android phone or tablet. And we can do that via an app called BrailleSense Mirroring that you can actually download from the Play Store right now, although you won't be able to do much with it until you have a BrailleSense 6. So this time we're going to connect using the rear USB-C port, the power port. And the reason we're going to do that is because the BrailleSense will be hosted by the other device, the Android phone or tablet.
File manager.
H632 internal shared storage. Show routes button.
Okay, so I have an Amazon Kindle, and it is popping up showing me the BrailleSense memory. Depending on what phone or tablet you have, this may be different. The important thing here is to locate the BrailleSense mirroring app.
App switcher button. Shop Amazon. Open shop. Dismiss shop Amazon. BrailleSense mirroring.
Okay, we're gonna
Start.
double tap that. And again, I'm gonna double tap start.
BrailleSense mirroring.
And now I have to give it permission.
Allow BrailleSense. Cancel button. OK button. Connected. Stop button.
Okay, so now you heard several things. You heard the BrailleSense give a little bit of a sound to indicate that it's connected, and you heard the Kindle announce that it's connected, and now the button has changed to stop. Now, for those who are blind, you actually cannot do anything with this. This is mainly for sighted teachers, etc. But if the screen reader on the phone or tablet is turned off, the sighted teacher does have actually some control of the BrailleSense as well as the screen mirror. So, and also for those of you who can't see it, this is now displaying the BrailleSense main menu because that's what's displaying on the BrailleSense itself. So my screen is actually now being mirrored to the Kindle. Continuing with the visual theme, as you all know, we've been doing distance learning and working for about a year now, and oftentimes, especially in professional settings and in school settings, you are required to have your video on. You can now do that with BrailleSense 6 via a USB external webcam. So let's go to All Apps,
Assistant.
and we'll go to Zoom, and I'll press
But list meet
Enter,
and chat.
and I'm going to start a new meeting.
Image new chat. Period. List new meeting. Comma. Button cancel. Press enter to activate.
And I'm
Period.
gonna
Start a meeting.
start.
Button start a meeting. Press enter to activate. Zoom. Button cancel. Press enter to activate. Connecting. Period.
And so we're now connecting.
Mute my audio. Press enter to activate. Period.
And it should be now showing me on this terrible webcam screen as well. They tell me that the quality is not nearly as good as our cameras here, so you should definitely be able to tell the difference. And so now I am actually on a Zoom call and I am showing my webcam. Of course, remember, you can also share the BrailleSense's screen and show a PowerPoint or Excel or anything like that as far as a presentation goes. So this is very, very cool for doing a full-featured presentation directly from the BrailleSense. And for you audio geeks like me, we get to have even more fun because we now support generic USB audio devices, and that does include mixers. So you can actually make a professional recording or a rehearsal, a recording directly on your BrailleSense 6. And if you don't believe me, check this out. Or this. Yes, isn't this fun? No, let's go back to this. Okay, so we have some stereo reverb, and I will actually record directly on the BrailleSense. So I'm going to press the record button from the main menu. I'm pressing the media button on the front.
Record dialog. Record. Left parenthesis. Enter R. Right parenthesis. Button.
Okay, and I'll press enter.
0.
And now I am recording via the Alesis mixer on the BrailleSense 6 with some stereo reverb. Okay, I'll go ahead and stop it.
Play. Left parenthesis. Enter P. Right parenthesis. Button.
And you can hear that there is no effect on the BrailleSense. So what you're going to hear coming out of the BrailleSense is not being affected by the mixer. And in fact, I'll even turn the effect on my voice off. And we will press enter to play this file.
Loading. Record 04.
And now I am recording via the Alesis mixer on the BrailleSense 6 with some stereo reverb. Okay, I'll go ahead and stop it.
Play. Left parenthesis. Enter P.
So as you can hear, it is actually recording directly from the mixer, and it's giving you all the effects, and anything that, of course, that you connect to it will come through. The other really cool thing about a device like this Alesis mixer is that it also has a USB return, and I'm actually using that now. I don't have it plugged in. I don't have it routed through the mixer other than via USB, and I've pressed this little switch to use the USB return, and so it sends the audio back. The reason that you care about this is that if you're doing something like a Zoom presentation, Android doesn't allow you to share your audio. However, if you're using something like this, you can just simply flip a switch to turn your BrailleSense audio on and off. I've also tried several other devices. This little deal is a Zoom AM7, and this is a USB-C stereo microphone. For those of you that are audio geeks, it supports 90 and 120 spread as well as an MS setting, and it connects directly through the USB-C cable. It's just a couple inches square. It's really light and small, but it makes a beautiful recording on the BrailleSense. I've also tried these, excuse the finagling. I want you to see the microphones on the outside. This is a set of earbuds called the Ambio Smart headset, and this is actually a Lightning headset. So I've used this little anchor, this little anchor USB-C to Lightning adapter to use this on the BrailleSense, and it works beautifully, and it makes an ambisonic recording. You wear them on your ears, and it's a really, really great option. The other thing that I've tried is this little job. This guy is the Zoom PodTrack P4, and this is where I'm getting all my sounds. I actually just press these little buttons here. So this is where all the sounds are coming from in this video, but I can also connect this via USB-C to the BrailleSense as well, and it also has a USB return. It has 4 XLR inputs, and again, this is cool because if you're on the go, you could use this to do a pretty full-featured Zoom presentation, including the sounds. You have your USB return as well, so you can bring the BrailleSense audio with it, and it's very, very portable and light, and it's not terribly expensive. So very cool. This really, again, offers you tons of options to play with and tons of flexibility in terms of using the BrailleSense for audio production and presentation. Let's talk about keyboards. As you know, keyboards come in many shapes and sizes and are Bluetooth, USB, wireless, etc. One of the more interesting types of keyboards that I have found is the Air Mouse Remote, and this looks very much just like a remote control. On the back of this one, there's a full QWERTY keyboard that's actually quite common with these things. They're usually used for Android smart TVs, so you can search Netflix and things like that. But you can also use it on the BrailleSense to do the exact same thing. And so if you want to watch, these streaming services are actually quite accessible, especially on the BrailleSense. So if you actually want to watch something with your family, though, you're probably going to be plugged into a monitor and plugged into the wall, etc. So this is a way that you can actually actually connect it from far away. Now this one actually takes a wireless USB dongle, so I'm going to connect that. It does help if you put it in the right direction. Okay, and now I need to switch this on. And so if I...
Organizer, O. Web Tools, B. Extras, X.
I am pressing the down arrow and it's actually controlling the BrailleSense. So I'm able to select, I'm able to change volume.
Main volume 9, main volume 8, main volume 9, main volume 10.
And do all kinds of different things. So this is really useful. The other thing that I think this might be useful for is possibly a one-handed user who might want to augment some of the BrailleSense control with something that they can more easily do with one hand. Because it's so small and it has the very small QWERTY keyboard, it may be easier, again, for people with dexterity issues. So let's take a look at a couple of other things. You can use programmable keypads in the same way, like this, for example. Now this one I actually purchased with round keys, and one really cool thing about it is that it came also with a set of square keycaps. And for those of you who can actually see this, I have mix and matched them. So this is a macro programmable keypad, and what that means is that you can program macros and they're stored inside the keypad, so then I can connect it to the BrailleSense and actually it will be seen as a QWERTY keyboard, and as long as you set a QWERTY keystroke sequence, it will enter like that. Again, this could be useful for just shortening your own use of things if you have a specific program, like Zoom, for example. Maybe you want to set a button to mute and unmute your audio, things like that. You could use this again with the BrailleSense, but this is also, I think, useful again for one-handed users or for people who have dexterity issues, because you can use the tactile shapes and you can make things happen with one keystroke rather than trying to use all the keys on the Braille keyboard. One example might be space Z. It's a very common function, but for a one-handed user is really difficult to type. But if you had something like this where you could program that to a single key, that could augment their use and make their use of the BrailleSense more efficient. Well, this is awesome. You can connect all of this great stuff, but what happens if you want to connect a lot of it at one time? Well, we do have 3 USB host ports, but you can actually do more than that with several USB hubs. We have tested so many types and shapes and sizes, like this Anchor one, which has a USB Ethernet port on the end and HDMI, and everything works with that. That's great. We also have this really fun vintage model that you probably can't even get anymore, but I just had to show it because it's so weird. It's 4 USB ports, but it's kind of like this octagonal plastic weird thing. But anyway, it's cool. And it does work. Here is a more common type that has USB and HDMI. We have this little cool one, which is another cheap model. This one actually came from China and came with a laptop that I have, and it has 3 USB ports and 2 SD card readers, a full size and a micro, and it will see all the devices at once. And let's see. Let's end with this one. Now this one has a ton of stuff plugged into it. I have 4 USB devices. Actually, it's 2 card readers and 2 USB drives plus HDMI. And we're actually going to plug this one in so that you can actually see that this really works. So I'm going to connect it to the front USB-C port, and we're just going to wait a moment because it does actually take it a minute. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and the 4th one tends to take a little bit longer. And I hope that we are also now, oh, there's number 4, and you should now also be seeing the screen of the BrailleSense. And to prove that these are all connected, I'm going to press Enter on the file manager.
Flash disk 16 list item.
And it says flash disk 16. And we have flash disk and Google Drive, and all 4 of those devices were detected and are viewable in the file manager. And of course, you can also use them, copy to and from, etc., etc. So it doesn't necessarily have to be all USB drives. As I said, we do have HDMI connected here also. You're generally going to probably max out at 5 or 6 devices, but that's That's still quite a lot of peripherals. And remember too, I also have my USB mixer connected on top of all of these things in the hubs. So this is pretty darn fabulous. It's very possible for this to be the center of your workstation. We hope you've enjoyed this casual but deeper look into some of the best features of our new BrailleSense 6. If you'd like more information, feel free to contact us at hims@selvishc.com or visit our website at www.himsintl.com. Thanks for watching.